Hello, everybody. This is Patrick, and this is Saturday, the 7th of May for the year 2022. And welcome to Dutchy Tech Discussion Podcast, where we have an opinionated discussion about technology. Before we begin, let me remind you that you can become a Patreon, so you can have early access on-demand replay of this episode. And you can find a place, we have a place where you can get your answers, you can post your questions and we will answer them at the end of the show. Unfortunately, we don't have any questions for this show. And if you want to listen to another podcast, what am I saying? If you want to listen to the archives of this show, you can listen to them on YouTube and Spotify. Now, let's talk about today's headline topics, as this is what you're here to. Listen, Patrick, ramble on about technology topics. So let's begin, shall we? So the first topic I'll be talking about is Florida pension fund sues Elon Musk over Twitter deal. Interesting. Britain pushes tough tech rules under new digital watchdog. Ow! Apple sues startup company for allegedly stealing trade secrets about M1 and A15 chips. Oh boy, interesting. And Netflix shares fall more than 35% after streamer loses over 200,000 subscribers. Oh no, Netflix! So those are our headline topics for today. But in our honor tradition that we normally do on the show, it's called the COVID-19 moment of silence. Now, since the last episode we did, I guess about 250,000 people have passed away from this. So the current death toll from this virus is 6,274,800. Now, what I'm going to do is take a moment, I'm going to pause the mic in honor and respect of those people who have passed away. Thank you for taking that moment of silence for the 6,274,800 people who have passed away. Right, let's get into today's first topic for the discussion. Okie dokie. So, Florida pension fund sues Elon Musk over Twitter deal. Now, I have noticed in a while that a lot of things are getting bought out or bought up. Is it bought out? I've noticed things have been getting bought out or bought, and companies are getting merged into bigger companies, and these smaller companies And now Elon Musk has offered, or whatever you want to call it, he has probably found $44 billion and buys out Twitter. And now it's facing its first legal challenge. Now, you would think that I just looked up Tesla because I was thinking, wouldn't it would be cool for Patrick to drive around in a Tesla? Yes. Unfortunately, a newer model, long-range Tesla 3, costs about, let's say, $90,000. Yeah, nah. I don't even earn that in a year in my day job. Nah. That's just, and the government's forcing people to have, well, not, I wouldn't say forcing, but they want to have a more greener environment and this new fuel, old groggy fuel. But anyhow, that decides to track the point. Now, apparently it's a Florida pension fund suing Musk and Twitter and arguing that the deal can't legally close until 2025 due to the billionaire's stake in the platform. Okay. Interesting. $1 billion stake in the platform? This can't be right. I did not know that Musk has bought a share in the platform. Did Donald Trump buy a share in the platform and have a bit of a sway over the... I don't know, because I have to go and look that up. But I did not know he had shares in the company. Is it his company bought a share? I don't know how that works. But now, the proposed class action suit filed by the Orlando Police Pension Fund in the Delaware Chancery Court. So there's a bunch of coppers going after Elon Musk and Twitter. That is funny. A bunch of police officers who want to protect their pension funds wants to go after Musk and Twitter. I don't get it. What have they got to do with it? The article that I've read, or maybe I didn't read it properly, but I don't know what's it to do with them. I could click on the article and see what it would say. Let me see if it'll not crashing. Now let's see. Let's see what the article says. Now, I'm just reading the article now. Now, I'm just skimming through it. Now, the antitrust experts say merger is unlikely to be blocked by the FTC. So I'm not from America, but it's FTC is the Federal Trade Commission. And I think we have something like that in New Zealand. So that if someone wants to buy up, say, an example that I know of, because that's the industry I know of, is like the Fletcher Group. The Fletcher Group owns, in New Zealand, owns Easy Steel. It's a steel manufacturer. And they bought out Higgins, a local company in Palmerston North. They are more like a roading and earthworking infrastructure. Now, unfortunately, they could not buy Higgins out entirely for the pure reason of because they already own, it's more like a monopoly thing. So because they already have Firth, the concrete under the group, they couldn't buy out Fletcher, Higgins Concrete division of the Higgins Group. But just quick squizzing over the article. The article does not say why is the Florida police getting involved. It did not. Let me just go back. So it did not. That's because no. So I just quickly skimmed over, and it did not say why the Orlando Police Pension Fund. What's it got to do with them? Now, maybe that's they have. But it did not say in the article. I don't want to cast accusations here, but I'm assuming that, like, we have something called KiwiSaver in New Zealand. That's sort of like a pensioning. It's like I don't know if that's an equivalent to a 401k, 401k. I don't know what even 401k is, but they keep saying that it's something to do with KiwiSaver is something like a sort of a, not like a pension. It's sort of like I don't even know how to describe. But what happens is that Delaware is a U.S. state. Now, I understand that businesses have said, oh, we're going to file our corporate filings in Delaware. Is it like Delaware, like the, what was it called? The Cayman Islands for doing dodgy tax avoidance. I think that's what thing. But so a class action suit means that I've been watching. I'm a big fan of suits. A class action is actually so if I just, here's an example. So if I decided to sue Microsoft, because this actually be a good example, in loss of cost of earnings because of their the cost of repair, this is just a hypothetical, okay, because I think Microsoft need to be taken down a peg, but this is just an example. So if I was a sort of a medium, so if I got, say, employees of, say, 70 employees in my business, okay, and Microsoft is forcing us to upgrade to Windows 10. Okay, this is the Windows 7 era. I'm using that as an example. So, and I can go and sue Microsoft for deceptive practices and loss of revenue because their actions cost my business millions of dollars in revenue. Okay, this is just an example. So that's an individual lawsuit. A class action suit means that, okay, let's say my dad, okay, brings his business in. And then I say I'll bring in, say, my aunties or my uncles or my cousins' businesses, or not even family, but I bring a whole bunch of people have the same grievances. And then what they'll do is they will file a class action suit where that each person or each represented individual or corporation under that class action suit, so they will get a payout. So if they got a $10 million financial rewards, and then so it'll be split. If we had 10 people, they'll be split 10 ways in that class. So if it's a $1 per unit in class. But anyway, I'm going to think. So the lawsuit raises some novel issues under the Delaware corporate law. Don't know what that means. Under law known as Section 203, shareholders who own more than 15% of a company can't enter a merger without 2/3 of remaining shares granting approval. Without this approval, the merger can't be finalised for another 3 years. Now, the Orlando Police Pension Fund lawyers state that Musk initially owned roughly about 10% of Twitter's shares, which does not make that thing applicable. But they but the lawyers argued that Musk is colluding with some sort of formed a pact with Morgan Stanley, who owns about 8.8% of the shares, and the former CEO, Jack Dorsey, who has about 2.4%, 2.4% to advance the deal. So they are going on the argument of the combined stake of these parties making his allies in the takeover deal as interested shareholders under the section of 203. Section 203, which, if the court agrees with this underlying reason presented in this case, meaning the merger must be delayed or get shareholder approval representing 2/3, as I said, of the company's ownership. So basically, if Elon Musk has a sharehold of, say, 55%, has a share of 55%, he can actually take over. But yeah, it's I don't know how these US laws, but now maybe Elon Musk wants to add it to his portfolio, and does he want to run Twitter? We don't know. But I don't know what my opinion on this is. I don't know what my opinion on this will be, but what is your opinion on this? Is this... Let's play devil's advocate for a minute. Is Elon Musk buying out Twitter better than if Donald Trump did? Because if Donald Trump buy out Twitter, it will be hell and loose. But what else can I say? But that's enough time for that topic. I don't have much more to say on that topic. So we need to press on, and let's talk about our next topic. So our next topic is Britain pushes tough tech rules under the new digital watchdog. Ow! Ow! Watchdog! No! Watchdog! Watchdog! I don't know. Is it Britain or is it the European Union? Because we know a fact that the Europeans are responsible for cookie disclosures and all these other privacy, copyright, and I think I talked about in the previous show about universal charges pushing on Apple. So what this means is big tech companies like Google and Facebook, or parents of Meta, will have to comply with tough British rules under the new digital watchdog aimed at giving consumers more choice online, or face the threat of big fines. Yes, sometimes Google and Facebook need a bit of slappy on the handy. Need a slap on the hand. Especially Facebook. I think I have proven this a number of times. I'm going to grab my phone and click my phone down, And let's see if it still does it. Is it going to do it? Woohoo! So, and this is one of the reasons why these big tech companies, that is strange. Normally it does it. So what it does, it will ping and say, hey, I need some attention on my Facebook. That's probably one of the things of Britain is trying to stop, of invading our privacy. That's the thing. But the United Kingdom governments outlined the powers it is planning for this digital markets unit. I think that's what they're going to call it. A regulator set up last year to take on the dominance of giant tech giants. So it didn't specify when the rules would take effect, only saying that legislation will come in due course. So it's not quite yet. They're trying to push it. They're pushing it. I can't say that because I'll probably get into trouble for copywriting. Sing that tune out. So now the authorities in Britain and across Europe have been leading a global push to clamp down on tech companies and rising concerns about their outsized influence and harmful material proliferating on their platforms. Now, we could say, this might get me into trouble, but when we had the mosque attacks in Christchurch, that was streamed on Facebook, and that was scary. That was scary. That's stuff that they are referring to, like on Facebook, they stream. But I think they did. They'd probably take time to respond to that when they think. So the new UK Watchdog would enforce rules that make it easier for people to switch between iPhones and Android devices or between social media accounts without losing their data and messages. So that's what they are trying to do. So it's like saying, hello, Windows, I want my applications to work in Linux and Mac. Or I'm on TikTok and I need to work on Facebook. I think that's what thing. But the government's digital departments said smartphone users will get a wider choice of search engines and more control over how their data is used. Tech companies would have to warn small companies that do their business online without changes and about... Oh, hang on. What have I wrong here? So tech companies would have to warn small companies that do their business online about changes to algorithms that could affect their web traffic and revenue. I have something to say about that. Go Britain! Yeah, go UK! Go UK! Go UK! Because I can't think it was The Good Wife or some sort of lawsuit program. Denny Crane, Boston Legal. Was it The Good Wife? I can't remember. It was one of those legal shows that actually challenged this, saying that they compared a competitor like, say, Google to Bing and saying, oh, Google is actually promoting this business but leaving out this business. So that, I have to say something about that. So tech companies would have to warn small companies that do their business online about changes to algorithms that could affect their web traffic and revenue. Full disclosure. That's what they don't do now. That's what happens with YouTube as well. That's people say, oh, the YouTube algorithm has come to attack me and blah, 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 blah. But But that could open up to potential liabilities and stuff like that. People can hack the system. But the watchdog also would get the power to solve pricing disputes between online platforms and news publishers to ensure media companies get paid fairly for the content. Now, this has been going. That has not been a new issue because I think it was Australia, our cousins across the ditch, banned Facebook to protect their news these days. News used to be on the news programs, and it's in the newspaper or traditional news was when I grew up, because I was born in the 90s. So how we got the news was on the radio. So we get news on the radio. We get news on TV. When I used to sit have my dinner with my auntie and uncle, and we'd sit they'll turn on the one news, and then and I hear the news on the radio in the morning before I go to school. And sometimes my uncle probably buy the newspaper from the local dairy and have a read in the newspaper. Sits in his armchair having a cup of coffee and reading the newspaper. But today, news is pushed out through social media like Twitter, Facebook, but also other news like stuff.co.nz, which is an online version of, but there's the money, making money off that is becoming a very complicated model. But so the tech companies would face fines up to 10% of the annual global revenue for breaking the rules, which for the bigger companies would amount to billions of dollars. So, I don't know. I know there are some things that I sort of agree with what the European Union is doing. I don't know if it's... I call it the European Union because it's European countries or something in the European that are doing this to the rest of the... And most of these are American tech companies. So it's more like saying, hey, it's like saying, oh, screw you to our sons and daughters who originally come from the UK because they're colonists. I don't know what to say about that. But that's one to watch. They haven't done it yet, but they are pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And you'll find that things are getting pushed into the cloud. And that really scares me because if the cloud breaks, then you're stuffed. But this is something to watch and see what happens, because all I know is that fairer pricing, basically making things fair, because it's like saying, I am the supreme king of search engines, and I can bully the world to anything I want. If I want to show Donald Trump fake news, I will show Donald Trump fake news, and they will just have to eat my fake news of Donald Trump. But trying to put these big tech companies in their place, and they trying to stop them from doing things like that. That's what the whole thing is. But that's just my opinion. Let us know what your opinion on this topic is, because I got to keep on pressing on. I got to try to do a new way of doing this content, or opinionate a new So let's go on to our next topic, shall we? Next topic is Apple sues startup for allegedly stealing trade secrets about M1 and A15 chips. It is not what you think. It's more of... Now, I have said just before that I am a big fan of these suits. Harvey Specter, Mike Ross, you got lead up. But the lawsuit is basically, the lawsuit is basically a startup called Rivos. Never heard of them. And they have poached over 40 Apple employees over the past year. That's according to the lawyers of the lawsuit, or the people who are doing the suing. Now, the reason why I said about suits, because I learned something about American law. Well, not really, but it's fun to watch, because Mike Ross has got some cool memory thing in his head. So, was it a eidetic memory or some sort of photographic memory? But let me tell you this. Now, when there was a few times where Miss Pearson, and I forgot her first name. What's her? No, because it's Rachel Zane. Pearson. Oh, look at that. Finally just come through. Oh, Facebook notification. Just like a bit late than usual. Bye-bye. See, that's what happens when you don't touch the phone. And I bet you, because I just played with it, it will start running up again. I can't remember, was it, you got Harvey Specter and you got Donna Paulson, Lewis Litz. I've been watching this recently. I should know this. And I've been watching it again and again and again and again, like I most do things for. I'm sure it'll get back to me. So, Hardman, and there was also Hardman in there as well. David Hardman? Richard Hardman? No. I'm sure it'll get back to me. She's an African-American lady, played by Gina Torres. Anyhow, sorry, I'm digressing here. Oh, shoot, bumped the mic. So, what she's done in her law firm is create a sort of like a non-compete confidentiality clause. Now, I don't know what Apple's confidentiality clause, meaning that, say, if I'm an Apple employee, I am not allowed to take or disclose information about Apple, proprietary things. So, now Apple claims that a little-known startup has stolen its trade secrets for the MacBook M1 chip and the iPhone's 13's A15 mobile processor by poaching former employees. Now, it started in June 2021. Now, Rovers began a coordinated campaign to target Apple's employees that have access to that information. And that's what the claim of the lawsuit is. But they got to prove it. Now, how did they know? How did Apple know that they were stealing trade secrets? Now, it's like this. It's like the $1 billion codes on Netflix. How do you? Why? That's something I started watching but never followed through on it. Like when Google stole this German guy's map technology, which looked very identical. This Google Map or Google Earth map technology. And they had to prove it. They got to prove that this company Rivos, I don't know, Rivos, has stolen or actually used Apple's proprietary technology. It's go for any company. It's like, how do they know that they are using that? Did they follow this company's products, or did they leak accidentally something about it? But what can I say about this? Is that for the Apple employees, if you don't like a company, you can go somewhere else. But intellectual property. So if you made something, it's like, the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory. That's another good example. That's where Leonard Hofstadter, Sheldon Cooper, and Rajesh Kuthapalli, Rajesh Kuthapalli, at least it's in, and Howard Joel Wolowitz. Now, what happens is, the three of them, there was a loophole. It's because it was, what do you call it? Howard Wolowitz, was it prototype of the guidance system, or some inertia gyroscope guidance system. Because he was on loan, he actually didn't work for the university, and because, they were on loan, he's on loan from NASA. Technically, what happened was he didn't get, because they'd done it on university property, it becomes university property's intellectual property. And then it goes on and on and on and on. And I'm a big fan of the Big Bang Theory. But there are probably some things a way around it, because you may be able to modify something, or certain things you can modify that doesn't. That's how big companies or drug companies get around patents. They just no. Was it vaping? Synthetic cannabis. I think that's what it was. So we had this thing called synthetic cannabis going around in New Zealand, and what happens is the government bans chemical formulas. So what happens is that's, okay, we're going to ban this. The government bans this because cannabis or marijuana, pot, whatever you want to call it, it's illegal in New Zealand, but synthetic cannabis was not. So they had to somehow ban it. By what they did is they banned it by formula, which was probably a bad way. So what they do is these cannabis or cigarette companies go and change the formula slightly, and then wham, bang, they might add an extra protein or molecule or whatever it is, and then bam, they make a whole new product out of it. They change the formula, and then put it on the shelf. And that particular change may make it even more harmful. Who knows? But I'm going to actually go and open up this article. Let me see if I actually forgot to. So what they did is, because Apple spends, and the company points out that it spends billions of dollars and more over a decade to develop its ARM-based chips for the MacBook and iPhones. So they're not using Intel chips. I could be wrong. They may have in the past. But now, Apple is now demanding the courts to force Rivos to pay damages and return all information it allegedly stole from the company. So that is telling me that the lawsuit is also urging the judge to impose a permanent injunction against Rivos to prevent it from using any Apple trade secrets, which is probably the fair way of doing it. So that is telling me that although the complaints only names two former employees, Apple says that over 40 ex-staffers have joined Revos. And the majority of these former employees were design engineers developing Apple's cutting-edge proprietary and trade secrets of SoC designs. So apparently, I think someone stole these. I think someone stole. I think someone stole. That's the only reason why they would say anything about that, because someone stole it. That's the only thing I can think of. But got to press on. I'm running out of time. Got one more topic to talk about. So the last topic we want to cover today is Netflix shares fell more than 35% after streamer loses over 200,000 subscribers. Now this one, I think I have been talking about Netflix quite a number of times over the show. And I have to say because I am a Netflix customer. Now, that's why I finally understand why we had a price increase. They said, we want to provide better content. That's a load of bull. Huh? Can't do voices without, a load of bull. Moo. A load of bull. Moo. Load of moo. Feces. A load of bit of moo. Feces. I know, I'm trying something different here, folks. Trying to give you more watch time retention when you're listening to the show. So after the streaming giant announced it had lost more than 200,000 subscribers in the first 3 months of this year, it said it expects 2 million more over the next quarter. So they're going to lose 200, so 2,200,000 subscribers. Why is this happening? Because the sharp drop wiped $50 billion off Netflix value and comes as subscribers rethink about their commitment to streaming services. That they grew their numbers sharply during the housebound or homebound months during the months of peak lockdown and COVID-19. So when we went for the second lockdown, I had internet secured, but I had internet better. It was only for 2 weeks. The first lockdown was only for 4 weeks. But we managed to sort out internet before that happened, because we knew that a day will come that we're going to get locked down again. But the sharp drop, why did I type that in twice? That was just stupid. But this negative force is coming from the lifting of the pandemic. So people are not sitting at home watching Netflix. I still sit at home at Netflix when I come home from work. But also the loss of the 700,000 subscribers in Russia. And higher consumer... I thought I had some more information in this article. I must have missed that. So higher consumer inflation in many leading markets, forcing households to rethink their budgets and have to hit the service or kill the service, basically. Inflation's bad, folks. It's got so bad. Our petrol prices have gone up. It's bad. It's really, really, really bad. Now, what they're saying is it raised the subscription price despite that the consumer growth was slowing. With the basic package now costs the US customers $15.49, and I think somewhere around that thing. But now you got Elon Musk taking a hostage, and may have invoked it's now the shares rose 86% at the end of 2019 through to 2021. But there's still some good shows. I liked You. No, not like it's the old joke in Stargate. So say you, and Jack will say, "Well, no, who? You." It's not the Lord you, as why you is in the Asian name you. That's the same thing with Mr. and Mrs. Who, Jimmy and Simmy Who. Asian names just make good comedy into the shows, but what's happened is that people, because inflation's gone up, and I don't know if this is accurate. 700,000 people. There should be, I think there's millions of people in Russia. 700,000 people? I don't know, but times are getting tough, folks. Times are getting tough. And especially when you have to fork out for 5 subscription services like Hulu, which we don't have in New Zealand, which is Neon, Disney Plus, which I do have. I think there's some few other ones, and there's probably Peacock or Paramount. There's a whole bunch of streaming services. Amazon Prime is another one. That's the thing. But there's things that I like on Netflix. There's like Stranger Things. I thought they're going to only have 3 seasons, and they just proved me wrong. They came out with the 4th season of Stranger Things. They cliffhanged it like it's going to be the last thing, and they brought it back. I wonder if it's going to be good. Wonder if it's going to be bad. Don't know. Wait till I get to see it. As I said, which is a bit of a very creepy stalker vibe sort of thing. And I'll tell you what, I was on the season 3, I was screaming my head off, and I said, no! Because I liked the you got what's this? The blonde chick, the one that is also the same serial killer as the main character, and they sort of pit each other off. And he killed her because he just couldn't keep it in his pants. He always gets fascinated. It's like the lady next door, and end up killing her too. But he always gets. He can't. What's the words? not heterosexual, monogamist. He's not a monogamist. Just one partner for the rest of the life. He just can't. He has that scratch or urge. He just can't. He fall in love with this bloody librarian who has a kid. Okie dokie. But the first season about the Beck, it was alright. I liked the second season. The second season was awesome of that series. But there's quite a few. But then again, Disney Plus has got some good content too. But I noticed that Disney is actually ruining Star Wars. They're actually coming out with another series called Obi-Wan Kenobi. They had The Mandalorian. Then they had the story of Boba Fett. They are milking their crap out of it. But the thing is, they can. They're a production company. Disney, end of the day, Disney or Pixar, they're all production companies. Netflix is not a production company. They're a tech company. Now, that's actually quoting, I think there's a video that I watched that explained that they're a tech company. And even though that some of their in-house content, like I'm watching Ozark at the moment, I'm starting to watch Ozark and seeing where that goes. Yes. So, but I hate to see Netflix go. But I think there's just too much competition. There's too much competition. Netflix was the kingpin. And then all of the other big players start to come into the pool. And then what happens is when the big player comes in, okay, when Disney Plus came into the big leagues, well, guess what? When Disney came into the big leagues, you'll find all the Marvel stuff going out the window. When NBC or MSNBC, was it? When they probably launched their own Peacock service or Paramount, all these people are creating their own streaming services. What happens? Netflix gets watered down and lose market share. But I don't know if I said something because I actually was listening to my local, listening to More FM the other day, and I think it was JJ Finney and Flinney was saying that Netflix was smart. Do you know that Disney Plus, if I want to skip the intro, I have to go and actually click on the play header or actually fast forward it? Where in Netflix you can just go skip intro, skip recap. That is patented by Netflix. And if you do not know that, I didn't know that until I heard it on the radio, whether I believe that or not. But I believe that is a patent, a copyright or a trademark secret of Netflix. They own it. They first. I'm sure that many people have came up with that idea, but they were the first ones to patent it. Patent so that people can't try and claim it as their own. But it's going to be very interesting because part of the drop in subscribers is that people said, "Oh, we've got Netflix." Now, a friend of mine, she said she was a bit of a Netflix watcher, but she got Neon. She said to me that I said, "Oh, have you watched the latest Game of Thrones?" And I said, "No, I'm just waiting for it coming out on DVD." But I said, "Oh, it's on Neon at the moment." And I said, she said, "You don't have Neon, have you?" And I said, "Yeah, I do now. But once Netflix is going, I'm going to cut Neon." Okay. Just because you just want Game of Thrones? Okay. That's probably fair enough, because if you're paying for Netflix and Neon, you be more money going out of your wallet every month. Yeah. But I hope that Netflix is still going to stay in spite of the Ukraine war, what's happening at the moment. Because once the Russia-Ukraine war stops, I think the inflation will settle down a bit. But that's just only my opinion. But things are getting tough. Petrol prices are going to go up, especially when the government puts a freeze on the... They cut out the petrol fuel tax thing. Well, after the 3 months up, 91 octane's going to go over 3. I'm predicting probably $3.50. Who knows? But that's all the time we have today, folks. Thank you for coming in and listening, or if you're watching this on YouTube. Don't forget, if you want on-demand access of this episode, become a patron. But also there's some bonus stuff by becoming a patron as well, as you might get to watch behind-the-scenes videos that I'm starting to put together. I'm also looking at doing, what's it called? It's like tech, sort of like, not like quick tips. That's what the word was. Quick tips. So just like a quick tip. Maybe they're probably like, a quick tip if you want to do this. Highlight and Control-C and Control-V. There's a quick tip for you. Things like that. And maybe things that I haven't even heard of. So that's coming out of the way. And you can listen to this on the archives in 2 weeks' time on YouTube and Spotify. That's when will become made public. But anyway, I would like to once again thank you for listening to the show. I don't know when I'm going to be doing the next show, but probably in the next 2 months, probably sometime either next month, June or July. It all depends on how busy I am. So take care, and I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, evening, nights, wherever you are in the world. Take care, and we'll see you next time.